Okay, we got it.
Looks good.
All right. Well, what we do here is like you said there, Herb, is we deal with plant line or soil line and down. Okay, so if you look at this first picture, you can see the topsoil there, the darker soil. That's where we start. Okay. Um, what mycorrhiza does is it forms a symbiotic relationship, just like the bacteria we were just talking about, with our plants. Okay, so this goes in furrow. The spores will go into the plant upon germination and basically blow up your root system. Now, if you look at this picture, I put this on there because there's a cactus on the right there. It could have mycorrhiza running under the soil all the way to the base of that mountain and back to the plant, bringing back water, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, iron, boron, you name it. Everything that plant wants, that is what it does. It'll bring it back to the plant, and it grows the life cycle of the plant. Okay, Mother Nature made this eons ago. That's how plants survived. Nobody was out putting nitrogen down for them. This is how they've been surviving forever. Okay, so it's not a new product. It's a new product because the technology is there that we can use it. Okay, so let's look at what mycorrhiza does. Okay, so here's your corn plant, right? Here's your feeder root, your secondary root. Those spores that are in the MycoMaxx, and that's basically all you're buying is millions of spores and a little bit of silicate. Okay, so it's 100% organic. We've got the OCIA, we got the EcoCert. It's in at Omri right now. Should have that back within a couple weeks. So it's fully organic, nothing in it. But these spores go into the roots. Okay, these are endomycorrhizal. Okay, so they go into the roots and they start growing the small hairs out of the roots immediately. So this starts upon germination. Okay, so we're starting to throw some roots or hairs out. This is the tip of a root. Okay, look at all the hairs growing off it. That's the mycorrhiza. Okay, that's what it does, and it continues to do that throughout the year. So what happens is, as the mycorrhiza grows, well, it needs something to grow. Well, how does it grow? Well, mama plant up here sends down starches and sugars and carbons down to keep these guys growing. These guys send up whatever mama plant's calling for. If it's phosphorus, they naturally unlock phosphorus. So you got a calcium phosphate locked up, and we've got a ton of phosphorus locked up because we got no mycorrhiza in our soil to unlock it. Okay, so we can unlock that. We can unlock potassium. We can bring in nitrogen right through the soil through amino acids and proteins. Okay, so that's what it's doing. So right now our soils are poorly degraded, a lot of them, and then we've got a lot of people that are kind of onto that. And I was just at the seminar this week, and a lot of guys talked about the cover crops, the no-till or limited till. I 100% agree with that, because what they're trying to do is build their mycorrhizal levels. Okay, once you build your mycorrhizal levels, and it could take 15, 20 years, we've been tilling for 100 to get them back up there, then your soil goes to work for you. It brings it naturally. Okay, there's a ton of good nematodes and good protozoa and bacteria in your soil. They're down there to eat organic matter. Okay, they eat the organic matter and they poop. Well, guess what? The missing link is this mycorrhiza going and finding the poop and bringing it to the plant. Okay, right now we've just got a root down there with no mycorrhiza. You can see this black root coming in. So we're side dressing and we're wide dropping, trying to get it right next to that root, because that root takes up 1 to 5% of the total root capacity in your soil. You put mycorrhiza in there, now you're up to 30, 40, 50% of your soil capacity. You're bringing in natural nutrients, whatever that plant calls for. Zinc, we know how important that is early in the stages. So that's what it does, and that's what it's been made to do. Why do we not have any? Tillage. UV light kills mycorrhiza. Every time we till, for 100 years, we've been killing it. And I'm guilty too. I grew up farming. Fallow. There's no host root to connect to reproduce itself. So there you go again. You're basically going dormant and dying. Erosion, fumigation, some fungicides, 99% of the fungicides we use today, we can put them right with it. It has no effect on them whatsoever. Anhydrous is a bad one. Fumigation. I've got guys that raise onions and potatoes. They use my product every year because they fumigate and basically kill their soil. Okay. Compaction. Why do we have a compaction issue? The issue is we don't have the mycorrhiza there. Okay. Mycorrhiza mushroom, basically. That's their genus. So when we get mushrooms growing under our soil, naturally your soil is going to be spongier. Okay, they're going to go deeper. Their PSI on a mycorrhiza is 1,000. Your normal root is 250 to 350. So you're going to go into places and break things up that you've never broke up before. Okay. So now I'm just going to go through some trials all over the country here. We've been doing this 10 plus years. I send it down south every year to a lot of guys because they can get away with half the irrigation and get the exact same yield. Okay. That's huge. That's money in the back pocket right there. So here's some beans. I'm going to go through these rather quick so we can get to some questions, but you can see immediately that root system starts to blow up. Everything's just bigger and better. Here's one we did, and you look at the total seeds on the 3 plants. That's a big difference. So if you look here in the middle of the screen, you can see everything on the right over there was treated. So I see this every year. Your plant, your beans, your peas, whatever you're planting, they stay greener longer because they're a healthier plant. Healthier plant, higher yield. It all goes together, okay? Kidney beans, same thing. Pinto beans, same thing. Here's sunflowers. Look at the difference in the root system. So I've talked to some biologists that said, well, if you've got a bunch of mycorrhiza in your soil, your root system will actually be smaller because the mycorrhiza is doing all the work. I said, no. It's actually the opposite. Your root system has to be so much bigger because it's got all these feeders feeding it. So it has to be bigger. It has to store the nutrients in the water. And when the plant calls for them, boom, they're there, they send them up. So automatically you have a bigger root system. So here's oats, okay, same thing. Barley. Here's your typical corn root, right? See that purplish on there? That's called fallow syndrome. Okay, that plant, when it was younger, did not get enough phosphorus. Okay, so you're already robbing yourself yield from, that plant might only be 4 inches tall. Okay, the reason for that is you don't have enough mycorrhiza in your soil to unlock the phosphorus that's already there and pull it back to the plant. Okay, now I've looked at some root system of guys that have been, no-till cover cropping for 20, 30 years. Their roots look like this next one here. Oops. So now look at this root system. This is 30 inches away from the last one I just showed you. This one was treated with mycorrhiza. Look at that. You look at that bottom part, that's that bright green. That plant is getting what it needs to have optimal yield and health. Okay. And that's what it's all about. If we have healthier soil, we get healthier plants, we get higher yields, less fertilizer. Okay. Guys, right now, they're not even side dressing and wide dropping if they're using this product with me. And you can look on my website, which is farmfungi.com, go through the 2020 growing season on corn, which is in the media section, and just watch what it does. I took it basically from planting all the way to right before harvest. Anyway, look at the root ball on this. There's so much mycorrhiza intertwined in that root ball, you could pound that on the ground and it wasn't going anywhere. The one on the left, all the dirt just fell off because nothing was holding it, okay? These strains of mycorrhiza are glomus strains. Glomus means glue. That's the glue that holds our soil together, okay? Look at the difference in the cob. It was 20 around versus 16 around, okay? We found some that were 24 around in this plot, okay? And that's just by bringing in all the natural stuff that's already in our soil. Here's another one. This was right in furrow with your startup fertilizer. Here's an example of the one on the left, okay? That's not treated. That's your roots, what we got right now in our soils. The one on the right is treated with mycorrhiza. Look at the feeder roots on that one on the right. That is where your NPK, boron, iron, you name it, that's where it comes from right there. Here was I believe it was a 19 bushel difference. If you look at the top there, 221, then go down to the fourth one down, same hybrid. Or no, 3 down, so it's 202. Yeah, it's 19 bushel difference. Here's a tissue sample we did, and you can see it's showing it's bringing in more N, P. It didn't bring any more potassium, which tells me that plant was getting enough potassium with what we put down. More magnesium. If you go over to iron, you look at how much more iron that brought in. Now, if anybody raises beans and has IDC issues, here's your answer, okay? You're having an iron deficiency because you don't have a root system to bring in your iron, okay? Here's a plot test we did. You can see everyone with the T over there. Second column is treated. And then you go way to the far right, you'll see it's the difference in bushels. But another thing I want you to look at is moisture, and I want you to look at weight. Okay. Pretty much all of them, we had a higher test weight, we were lower moisture. The reason for that is you put the mycorrhiza on, your corn is basically on steroids. It grows faster. It will tassel a week sooner than stuff that's not treated. I see it every year, and that's again on that video on my website. And you can look at the bushels. Now, what I tell everybody is don't put it on a fixed year hybrid. Okay. The third one down over there, way in the far right column, that was a fixed year. I got a 3 bushel difference. So it doesn't pay for itself. Put it on at least a semi-flex to a full flex year. Okay. Then you're going to be getting that, 8 to 15 bushel bump. Drought tolerance. Everybody's been talking this year about drought, and it's going to be a dry year and this and that, but nobody really knows. But it's a good protection right here. Look at the one on the right. Now, look how fast these grow. You look at the left over here, the bottom left, those little hairs grew across, colonized on these corn on the right side there, and they're blowing up their root system. So this will grow that fast. You think of a mushroom in your yard, the first time you see it, it's 2 inches around. Guess what? Next day you walk out, it's 4 inches around. Well, this is what it's doing, but it's underground. It's underneath you. Okay, so that's what's feeding the plant. I talked about amino acids and proteins in the soil from all our good bacteria and stuff down there. Most of the soils I deal with nowadays are 95 to 98% bacteria. The fungi is gone. Okay, Ward Laboratories, I'm working with them right now. We're going to come out with a mycorrhizal fungi test to basically be able to test this because it's never been done. Nobody really knows how to do it, but we're working with them. Anyway, this is the amino acids, the proteins being brought through the hyphae, which are the hairs that grow off your root, right into the center of your root and up to your plant. Okay. Again, like Barry said, you're not going to over nitrogen or over. There's no way it can because mama plant is talking to the root system and they're feeding each other. Okay. So if mama plant's had enough nitrogen, she says, nope, send me up some water or whatever it may be that she wants. Okay. So that's how they work together. Experimental studies have shown that the hyphae of the mycorrhiza can deliver 80% of your plant's pee. So how much pee do we have locked up down there that we can't get, or we're trying to get with a chelate or something like that? Probably a lot of it. Okay, I've got guys that have already cut their pee by 20 to 30% because they know their soil and their roots are getting it for them. 25% N, 10K, zinc is important, okay? 60% of the copper. So it's bringing in everything that plant is asking it to do. Okay, it protects your roots from root rot. It's also the natural killer of cyst nematode. Okay, here's the root rot. Now, cyst nematode, we have some issues up here in the North Dakotas. I don't know around everywhere else where everybody's from, but the reason we have that is, again, our soils are so predominantly bacteria. Okay, we don't have the fungi balance to balance your soil and make your soil healthy. Okay, so if a cyst nematode comes and attacks the root system, the mycorrhiza will form little hangman nooses around that root or around that worm, and they strangle it and kill it and use it as a food source. Because what they'll do inside those hangman nooses, they start growing hyphae inside that worm and eat the worm from the inside out. So that sounds pretty gross, but it's actually feeding your plant. So, and that won't kill good ones because the good ones do not attack the plant. Anything that attacks the plants, they will protect. Okay, weeds. I know guys up here that are organic have weed problems. Well, I'm not going to tell you there's going to be less weeds. Most of the weeds we have a problem with are non-mycorrhizal. Just like a sugar beet, a canola, mustard, anything in the brassica family is non-mycorrhizal. It cannot physically take these spores and boost its root system. So what happens is most of our weeds are non-mycorrhizal as well. So your crop actually starves the weeds of the NPK and everything else that goes with it, and moisture, because you've got a great big root system down there that's working for you. Okay, so I was in this field, the bottom field, there's just as many weeds, they're just not big and robust. Okay, so they're easier to kill. Here's a list, and you can add Palmer amaranth to that, and you can water hemp as well as a non-mycorrhizal. So a lot of them we have problems with are non-mycorrhizal, so we can starve them out a little bit. Soil health and structure, I told you about that. It's the gloma strains. You look at a pocket gopher mound, it's that nice round marbly. That's the way our soil is supposed to look. It's supposed to have oxygen in there and everything. but a lot of ours don't, put it that way. This is the main component to healthy soil. Again, like I said, that's the reason people's are cover cropping and no-tilling, okay, to build your fungi levels. I've just got a way to do it faster. So how to use it? Like Herb had said, we put it in with our starter fertilizer and we go. Easy, easy peasy, okay? On the bean end of it, most guys are running it right through a seed treater and treating the beans with it, okay? So those are your main two ways. I do have guys that have hooked up little 12-volt pumps and they'll spray it on as they're taking their corn out of one box into another box or into the planter. However you do it, get it on the seed or close to the seed so it can go to work immediately. Okay. So look at everything it does. Improves drought tolerance, nutrient uptake, weed suppression, root disease, nematode control, improves soil structure, fertilizer input costs go down. Like I said, guys are going away from the Y dropping and side dressing. And most of all, improves your health and your yield of your plant. Another big one that we're touching here is carbon sequestration. I know that's a big word out there right now. These are a key component for that because we're pushing carbon down in the ground that can stay there for 50 years. So this is what it is. It comes in a jug. That jug right there is about the size of a quart jar. Okay, in there is millions and millions of spores, and that covers 80 acres. Okay, so super simple to use. It's like a powdered sugar is what it looks like, really, really fine powder. And you put it in with your starter fertilizer and go treat the seed. So really that's the short version of what I got. Normally I've got a slideshow that's about 100 pages long, but I narrowed it down here so we got time for some questions and whatnot.
Thanks, Brady.
Yeah.
You know, probably one of the biggest things to me about this product is there's not it's pretty hard to have a convenient way to handle mycorrhizae. And this is definitely, like you said, you know, like on our planter, we do have liquid starter. We apply some fish and some different products from the Dram Corporation. And we're going to be able to add this right to that mix. And it's quick and easy. It's going to be applied right where it needs to be in the furrow of the plant.
Another thing I want to bring up here is the MycoMaxx itself is made up of 8 different species. And like I said, millions and millions of spores. Not all mycorrhizas is created equal. Okay. Mycorrhiza, a lot of times I'll see other companies, they go by propagules. Propagule could be a root hair. It could be a piece of dust. It could be a piece of dirt. It could be a piece of sand. It's just a propagule. Our product is 100% certified spores only, because that's the only ones that do the work. So make sure you know what you're looking at if you're looking at mycorrhiza, because they're not all created equal.
You know, I think Brady brings up a good point. One of the things, you know, I think today it's very overwhelming on all the different biologicals and different products that are offered to the farming industry itself. And so, like we said last week at our Organic Farm Team Summit, our job, our goal at Dakota's Best is to help sort through some of those products. And really, we're going to try to promote only the products that have the true economic value to your farm and will provide a solution for your farm. So definitely MycoMaxx and the Blue End product are products that we feel will really help out on your operation. On my own personal operation, we're going to be using both of these products because the win ratios that you're seeing from Barry's slides and Brady's slides is pretty phenomenal in the industry. They kind of become a no-brainer type input because they're cost effective and very effective, I should say. So looks like we had a testimonial actually come in on the chat. I used it last year and had a great result, 9.6 bushel better on dry land and as high as 18 bushel better on my irrigated. I also use nano brown sugar in furrow, helps keep the fungi, helps the fungi get to work faster. Do you have any data that suggests sugar helps the fungi, Brady?
You can look at a lot. I've done a lot of research on that, and yes, any kind of sugar, whether it be a molasses or a brown sugar or anything like that, because what's going to happen is you're going to excite your microbes, which whether it be bacteria or the fungi, because what, like I said before, what the bacteria does, they go out and eat and they poop. The mycorrhiza brings the poop to the plant. So yes, there's definitely a benefit to adding something like that with it.
While we're on that topic, I've worked with growers in the past that have used programs that incorporate sugar, especially on a foliar side.
Yep.
And they had some other kind of biological based inputs in the mix as well. But at least from their experience, and they're up in the sort of Moorhead, Eastern North Dakota area, they have very heavy clay soils. And so, you know, when they got into a big wet spell, that fertility that was being generated through at least the program they were on that involved a great deal of sugar just wasn't effective enough for them. So
Right.
do you see any big result changes in, you know, how this stuff performs if we get a lot of heavy rains, or is that when it really kind of shines?
Actually, it shines, which makes sense logically in drier conditions. Put it that way. I've got from where I live about 10 miles. There's a big sand ridge, and it doesn't hold water, obviously, right? So up there, they use it religiously because you've got a root system that's so much bigger. They can get that water and, you know, trap some of that nitrogen that's being brought in by this rain. Now, in the heavy clay stuff where I'm at, where I live, if it's really, really wet, yeah, you're probably not going to see the 10, 15 bushel difference. You're probably going to see a 6 or 8. But you look at how much phosphorus have we unlocked and how much potassium everybody, you know, and how much healthier is my soil. That's another whole key to this thing. You know, it's not just that yield right away. I've worked with guys for 6, 7 years now, and they've literally cut their fertilizer bill in half because their soil's working for them. So yeah, I can't control the weather. You know, you want to see a big yield, get it on some lighter soil, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I'm curious too, because, you know, in some of your slides, and I've seen all the research on this, you know, tillage is kind of the enemy of mycorrhizal fungi. Do you know, ever see someone having to do, like, especially in an organic system, sometimes people have to cultivate later into the season, you know, is there kind of a big disadvantage there, and should they
it's not so much a disadvantage that year. Now, at the end of the year, your plant is harvested, right? So it's not calling for any more water or nutrients, whatever. And that's when they turn to this glue on its soil. And that's the glue that holds your soil together. So what I tell people, if you have to till, which I cannot get any farmer around me not to till, okay, because we're in the thick gumbo, right? I get it. And we need the heating units in the spring. Don't till as deep, okay? I've got guys now that have went from 7, 8 inches, and that's where the mycorrhiza lives, is the top 7, 8 inches. To only going down 3 inches, or going with a quick till or a pro till or a sulfur or something. Just don't go as deep, because that leaves a pocket in there for your next year's plant to grow into. Okay, so I don't like tillage, but if you have to do it, I get it. I grew up farming, you know. Just don't go as deep. Leave some there.
Awesome. Well, if there's any other questions from the audience, I'm keeping an eye on that chat box. I just wanted to give a mention here too, while we've been on the topic of some of the soil health and biologicals and mycorrhizal fungi. We did kind of go over this topic in a little bit different way in a webinar we did on the benefits of using small grains in rotation. So I'd encourage folks to check out our YouTube page at Organic Farm Team. I'm going to bring up a couple of slides here to wrap things up if there's no more questions. So just some contact information for Herb and myself. Feel free to reach out to us with any more questions about these products as well. And also, I just wanted to mention our webinar next week, or not next week, 2 weeks from now, March 26th. We're going to have a guest on there for kind of more of an open Q&A. Her name's Carolyn Lane. She's got decades of experience in the organic and specialty grain marketing world, both regionally as well as internationally. So bring your tough questions for her. And again, all these are recorded and on our YouTube page at Organic Farm Team. And we're also on Facebook, so you can keep track of us there as well. Well, thanks so much, everybody, for coming today. And feel free to reach out to us with any questions. Otherwise, hopefully we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks all.